Hello, people of the interwebs. Today we are going to be making a Metric-Imperial Converter. My name's Landon Schlungen and I make tutorials on FreeCodeCamp. At least that's what I'm doing right now. So let's take a look at what the Metric-Imperial Converter is. And we have to make an app that's functionally similar to this one right here. So let's see what it does. Looks like what we have to do is we can just type in like 3.1 miles and then hit enter or hit the button convert, and then it will convert it into kilometers. It will give us an initial number, an initial unit, a return number, a return unit, and a string of what it is. So this is what we're going to be making today. We can either clone this GitHub repo and complete it locally, or we can use a REPL.it starter project. I've been using REPL.it starter projects for my other ones, so I want to switch it up for this one, and I'm going to use the GitHub repo and complete it using Visual Studio Code. So to do this, we want to go to the GitHub repo, and you see the code right here. We want to click that button. We want to copy this HTTPS part, and then we want to open up Visual Studio Code or a terminal of some kind. And I have my Visual Studio Code opened here, and I have it in the folder of FreeCodeCamp Projects 2, and this is where I put all my FreeCodeCamp projects the second time I do them. And because I already have this done, and I'm just kind of showing you the steps to go through. So what we want to do is also make sure you have git bash installed. And then what we want to do is do the command git clone and then paste in that link and then hit enter, and then it will clone it into your folder that you have open. So here I have it, boilerplate project. We have routes, we have views, we have our package JSON, which has body parser, chai HTTP, cores.env, express, and mocha. So that's cool. There is one dependency that I want to add for this, and that dependency is called nodemon. And what this dependency does is it will auto restart our server every time. So we want to do npm I nodemon. This will install nodemon, and it will install all the other dependencies in here, because you can see we don't have a node modules folder yet, and this will install that for us. And it might take a little bit. And actually, I was in my FreeCodeCamp Projects 2 folder and not inside my boilerplate project, so yeah. Don't do what I just did. We need to cd into our boilerplate project first, and then we can run npm I nodemon. All right, there we go. We have everything installed that we need. We have nodemon installed, and basically to start it up, we can just run nodemon server.js, or we can make another script tag, and this script tag will be dev, and it will call the nodemon server.js command. So now if I do npm run dev, it's the same thing as doing nodemon server.js. They're the same. At least I think they are. I don't know, let's try npm run dev, see if it starts it up. Yep, that starts it up. I wonder why that didn't start it. It's weird. Oh well. Right now we're listening on port undefined. So we see this sample.env file. We want to make a env file and just copy what we have in there over, paste it in, and then now we can specify our port that we want. I'm going to put it on port 3002, just some random port, and then we can delete the sample env. All right, now that we have that, we can restart it because it doesn't take effect with the .env files yet. So Control C, npm run dev, and now it's starting. Now it's started again, and it's running our tests. Right now, it's automatically running our tests. And to prevent it from doing this, because sometimes it's annoying, we can just go into our routes. Maybe no, we go into server.js, and where it says runner.run, we can just comment that out, and then it won't run our tests anymore, because sometimes that's a little annoying. But we will have to run the test later. But yeah, I can go to localhost port 3002, and here we have our boilerplate project, and right now it doesn't do anything. If I try and convert it, it won't do anything, and we have to make it so that it works like this one. So let's work on this. Back in Visual Studio Code, we need to look at our api.js. It's inside of our routes file or folder, inside of our routes folder, and these are the functions that we need to change. We have this get num function, get unit, convert, get return unit, and get string, and these are in the convert handler file, which is inside of our controllers. So we go to our controllers, convert handler, and these functions do nothing right now. They just return result, which is undefined right now, or it is defined, but it doesn't equal anything. We have our conversions that we need. Gallons to liters is 3.78541, so that's good. So to start off here, what I want to do is go into api.js, and underneath init num and init unit, we want to make sure that they are valid. So we're going to go if init num and init unit. If they're both undefined, then we want to res.send invalid number and unit. And then we want to add in two more else if statements. If it's just an invalid number, then we do invalid number. If it's just an invalid unit, then we do invalid unit. So now if I save that, it will restart. Nodemon will restart it. And then I go back to our local host and I convert this. It will say invalid number and unit because right now we're returning undefined for both of those functions. We're returning undefined for getNum and getUnit. So we have to actually make these functions work. So we'll go to convertHandler.js, and this is where we have to do most of our work. So we have to extract the number out of this string right here. So basically we have to split up the number and the letters that we have. And to do that, I'm going to define another function. I'm just going to define it up here somewhere. I call it function number string splitter. And it takes in an input, and then it's going to do this right here. If I can get it, it's going to do this right here. We're going to take our input and we're going to match it with this regular expression that will match a dot, a digit, and a forward slash, or forward slash for division. If it doesn't match anything, then it will just return 1. And then we get the string by matching A through Z, capital and lowercase. And then we get the first one out of that, and that becomes a string. And we return an array of our number that it outputs and our string that it outputs. And then we want to use this function inside of this getNum function. And we do that by doing let result equal number string splitter, and we pass in our input, and then we get the first part of that array. So we're getting the number for this one. So now we can use this one for getUnit as well to get the string out of it. And instead of calling 0, we call 1, and that will get the string out of this function. Now, one thing that FreeCodeCamp wants us to do is be able to do division inside of our input. So if we do like 1 divided by 3 miles, then it will convert it into a decimal. But if we do like 1 divided by 3 divided by 3, then it's an invalid number suddenly. So this is kind of weird. And to handle this, we are going to have another function. We're going to call this function check division. So we're going to go function check div, and it will take in our input, or actually it'll take in our possible fraction, and it will do this right here. Let's see. It's going to split our possible fraction by the forward slash. And basically if there's 2 forward slashes in it, then we want to return false. Otherwise, we want to return the array of numbers that it produces. So if we think about this and we have a fraction of like 1 divided by 4 divided by 3, then this will return false. If we have a number of like 1, or if we have a number of, I don't know, let's say 15, then it will return the array. It'll return an array of 15 inside of it, and it might be a string as well. It'll return an array like that. If we have an actual fraction like 1 divided by 4, it will return 1, and then it will return 4 inside of this array. So that's what this function does. We want to use it inside this getNumber part. So we're going to do let nums equal checkdiv, and we'll pass in our result. Our result is going to be the number part, so it will only take in these fractions or numbers. Now we want to do stuff with this. First of all, we want to check if there's no numbers, which means that it was an invalid division, meaning that it was false. So if nums is false, then we just want to return undefined and basically say that it's invalid. Otherwise, we want to get num1 from this. So we'll go let num1 equal nums array index of 0, and we'll get the second number, num2 equal nums array index of 1. But you can see that there won't always be an index of 1. So to account for that, we want to say if it's not there, then let's just make it be the number 1. Now that we have those, we want to make our result equal to parse float, and we'll pass in number 1 and divide it by number 2. So there we go with that. Now we also need to check if we have more than 2 dots. So if I do like 1.3.3 or 1.2.2 and I convert, then it's still invalid number. Like that. And to account for the double dots in there, we can use is not a number to kind of check for that. So if we do if is NaN and we pass in our number 1, and then we check or is NaN and we pass in number 2. So we're checking if either of these numbers are not a real number, like they have 2 decimal points, then we just want to return undefined as well. Otherwise, we just want to return the result, which is the first number divided by the second number. If it's just a number like 15, then it will get divided by 1, which is still 15, and that's why that works. So yeah, this is one of the hardest parts of this project, is getting these validations correct. So I hope this helps. Next up, we have to do the getUnit function. Let's go to getUnit and do stuff with this. Now getUnit, we need to check this stuff. We need to take our string and we make it to lowercase, first of all, so that anything we put will turn into lowercase. We need this switch case statement in order to check for and make sure that the string that they put is kilometers, gallons, pounds, miles, liters, or kilograms. And basically if it is, then we return it. Except for the liters, we want to make sure it's an uppercase L. Otherwise, if it doesn't match any of these, then it is a bad measurement or a bad string that they put in, and we can return undefined. Let's save that, and let's actually go into api.js, and we need to do this res.json at the end. And this res.json is going to be in this format, where we get the initial number, then the initial unit, and then we do the return number, return unit, and then the string to string. So let's try this out. If I put in 2.2 miles, then we get an initial number of 2.2 and an initial unit of miles. If I put in a string that doesn't work, then it says invalid unit, which is correct. If I put in a number that doesn't work, then it says invalid number and unit. If I put in a fraction and then I put in the right unit, then I get the right fraction back and the initial unit correct as well. So it looks like it's working correctly. Next thing we want to do is we want to get the return unit, which is this function. And we kind of want to do the same thing we did up here with the switch case, except, for miles, it will instead return kilometers, or if it's kg, then it will return pounds. So it's another switch case statement. And I'll take what I did before. And basically we take the initial unit, turn it to lowercase so that they're all standardized. And then if it's kilometers, we return miles, gallons, liters, pounds into kilograms, miles into kilometers, liters into gallons, kilograms into pounds. And then again, if they don't match, then we just return undefined. Although it should never get to that point because we check it beforehand. Next up, spell out unit. We just want to make sure that if it's mi, then we return miles. So another switch case statement type dealio. We can pretty much do the same thing. If it's kilometers, then we actually spell out kilometers. And defaults, don't know. It should never get to that point though. Next up, this .convert. This is where the actual conversion comes in. And we can do another switch case statement for this one. And my app crashed for some reason, because let unit is already defined. Yeah, it's because I have to make this into the initial unit. And there we go. Now this .convert, we do another switch case statement type dealio, and I will take this stuff and put it in for you. Basically, we get our unit, we also get our number, and then we do if our unit is kilometers, then we take our number divided by the miles to kilometers. So let's say it's 10 kilometers, then initial number will be 10, and we do divided by 1.60934 to get the conversion into miles. So 10 kilometers will equal about 6.2 miles. And we do the same thing for the rest of these, like gallons, pounds, miles, liters, and kilograms. And it's either multiplication or division, depending on what conversion we're doing. At the end, we actually round it by doing .toFixed and putting in the decimal point precision that we want, which in this case is 5, so that it goes out 5 decimal places. So now if I save this, we should be able to test this out. And basically if I convert 1/3 miles, it will give me the amount of kilometers that is. So we all know that 5 miles or 3.1 miles is close to 5 kilometers. And that is true. It's 4.98895, and it's the same thing as what they have up here. So that looks like it's working good. Next up, we have the getString method. This one is fairly simple, and if I do this in one line, it should look better. So yeah, we're using backticks here, and we actually get our initial number, and we get our return number, and we spell out our initial number, or our initial unit. So our initial unit, and we actually spell it out. So if it's km, then we actually spell out kilometers. And then it converts into the return number, and then we spell out the return unit. So yeah, pretty simple there. When I save it, Prettier will make it into a shorter line. And so now I can test that out too. 3.1 miles converts into 4.98895 kilometers. And that is looking perfect. And if I do 3.1.1, we still get invalid number, and it's working perfectly. Awesome. So yeah, at this point, it should be able to handle pretty much all of FreeCodeCamp's tests, except for the ones where it says like, make sure it passes all the chai tests inside of your actual project. So you know how in the server.js file, we commented out runner.run. What this does is it runs our tests, and our tests are inside of our test folder. And there are the unit test and the functional tests. And if I look at unit tests, we actually do this one correctly, the whole number input. We do that one correctly, but the decimal input one, there's nothing in there because they expect us to actually test it out. So yeah, I don't want to do that yet because I want to see some of the tests pass on FreeCodeCamp. So what we do is we take our localhost 3002 and we paste it into this solution link part of FreeCodeCamp for the Metric-Imperial Converter, and then we say we completed it. And yeah, it passes all of them, except for all 16 unit tests are passing and all functional tests are passing. So yeah, we actually have to do that stuff. And this is actually pretty simple. Basically, all we have to do is copy and paste this stuff down, and then change up the input and then what it should equal. So decimal input, we can do 32.2. Should equal 32.2 here then. For fractional input, we can do 1 divided by 32, and then it will equal 1 divided by 32. For fractional input with decimal, we can do, 1.2 divided by 32. It will equal 1.2 divided by 32. So yeah, pretty simple there. If it's a double fraction, it should be an invalid input. So basically, if I do 1 divided by 2 divided by 32, we should get undefined here because that's what our getNumber function does. If there's no numerical input, so if this is left blank and it's just liters, then we should get 1 because that's what we specified inside of that function. So if I go into convert handler function and we go to our thing here, number string splitter, if it doesn't match with anything, then just put 1 in. And that's why it just returns 1. All right, back into our unit tests. We have this function convert handler.get inputs for each valid unit inputs, and then we need to assert. For this one, what I did was I made an output array that is very similar to the input array, except all of them are lowercase and standardized, except for the liters one, that one's uppercase. And then the assert is going to be assert.equal, and we do our convert handler function .get units, and we pass in the element, and it's going to equal our output array, and we get the index of it. But you see we don't have index in here right now. That's because we can put it inside this for each function, because our for each takes in the element and it also gives us the index. So now that one should pass too. So yeah, we have a bunch of these passing, but the functional ones are not passing yet, obviously, because we didn't handle those yet. Unknown user input, this one we have to change as well. I'm sorry, unknown unit input. So in this case, if I pass in the whole word kilograms, it should be undefined. This one we can just leave as is, I believe. Yeah, lowercase l should become uppercase L, and the rest should be correct. Next thing, spell out unit. I made this test for that, where we have our input, gallons, liter, miles, and then we expect the actual words, gallon, liters, miles. And then we kind of do the same for each function down here. Same thing. Next thing, we convert gallons to liters. So 5 gallons should equal that approximately, which is correct. And then we do liters to gallons and miles to kilometers, kilometers to miles, and the other ones. And for these ones, basically what I did was I just copied this and pasted it into all of them. Once you have them pasted into all of them, we want to change the gallons into liters, and then we can change the gallons into miles for this one. Change this one into kilometers, change this one to pounds, make sure they're lowercase, change this one into kg, and then I basically just ran it and then saw what they came up with, because they're gonna fail. Like 5 pounds is not equal to 18 kilograms. And then I just kind of checked what they came up with. So you can see here, liters to gallons, expected 1.32 to be close to 18.927. So that's this liters to gallon test. Liters to gallon. So basically what I did was I just took this 1.32 because I know it's right. I just put it into the expected value, and now that one should pass. And I did the same thing for all the other ones as well. And now I'm going to save that, and it's going to rerun our tests, and we can see that all of the unit tests were completed successfully. Next thing, we need to change the actual functional tests. So the functional tests are a little bit trickier because we actually make actual requests to the server with Chai. They got the first one done for us. We actually expect our initial unit to be an uppercase L, not a lowercase l. So they actually had that part wrong. Let's do the next ones here. We need to convert 32 grams, which is actually an invalid input unit. So this is what I did for that one. We make our request to the server like they did, and then we do input 32G. And then basically we can just assert whatever we want. I'm gonna assert that it's an OK request, but that our initial unit is actually gonna be undefined. Our unit we can't handle. For the invalid number, I can just basically take this and copy it down and then change up some things. But for the sake of time, I'm just gonna copy what I did over. And yeah, the input is a little different, except this time we say our number is undefined. This one, invalid number and unit, where the number and the unit are both undefined, so that one works. And we want to convert our kilograms. And we basically want to convert the kilograms, but not pass a number into it, so our input is just gonna be kg. And if it's like that, then we know that our initial number is just gonna be 1, and then we do our approximately equal to that number, and our return unit is gonna be pounds. So that one works as well, I believe. So if I save this, we should run our tests, and all of them pass. It says 21 passing, and all of them have check marks next to them. So now is the moment of truth. We want to see if this works in FreeCodeCamp, the solution link. And it should work, and let's try it out. Complete it, and we pass it. That's fantastic. And we can go on to our next challenge. One thing I do want to say about this Metric-Imperial converter though is make sure that we have the right cases on our units. All of them should be lowercase pretty much, except for liters. Liters is uppercase. I was having troubles with this one because I had kilograms uppercase and it wasn't passing for one of the tests and it was confusing me. But yeah, just make sure we have the right cases on our units. The other thing is doing these unit tests is kind of tedious, but it's important for making sure that it works every time, no matter what we change. If you want to know what color theme I'm using, I'm using the Material Dark Color theme by Megson. It looks pretty cool, in my opinion. Another thing that I'm using is bracket pair colorizers 2, and that's to make my brackets different colors so that I know where they're matching up. And we can even do custom colors by doing it inside of our settings.json. We can set the colors of the brackets to whatever we want. They can even take hex codes, so that's really cool. That's how I have it looking like this, with my brackets different colors. Green here, purple, orange, and whatnot. And that's, I think, all I had to say about this project. Overall, not too bad. The next project that we're going to do is called the issue tracker, and it's got to be functionally similar to this one, where we can submit issues on API tests, and we can update our issues and delete our issue. So a lot of CRUD functionality here. We will probably use a database for this one, so get ready for that. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Subscribe, comment down below, and I will see you later. Bye.